Check this out. When it comes to mic checks, it's time to overcome insurmountable odds and use an odd trick to mount your mics. Check. I really love my blue wall, but some of this extra space is making me feel blue. And so what I want to do is try and fill in some of that space by mounting some more microphones on the wall, because this is something I did a while ago and I really liked it. It's super simple and I think it looks awesome. And even though this is a pretty easy thing to do, the most important thing is to make sure that you mount the microphones securely, so that way as you're taking them on and off over and over again, the mounts don't fall or the microphones don't fall and get damaged or damage other things, because some of these are pretty darn heavy metal microphone. And chances are you won't be lucky enough to want to mount this exactly where there is a wooden stud in your wall, so you'll probably need to use anchors of some sort to keep it extra strong. Sometimes it's helpful to use a stud finder to see if you need anchors or if you can just put the screws directly into the wall. Yep, it works. I'm going to start out pretty simple by just mounting one single microphone under this photo where there's a nice space right here. The first step is just to measure it out and then center the mount, leaving enough space where a tall microphone won't block the photo. Then it's just a simple matter of positioning the mount and using a marker or a pencil to make marks where the screws will need to go. I just use a power drill to go through the drywall, and then I use that drill bit to sort of wiggle it around and make the hole bigger so that it can accommodate the drywall anchor. And then I like to use a rubber mallet to push in the drywall anchor. That way it doesn't put dents in the wall, which can happen if you just use a regular hammer. After that, you can mount the mount and then you're good to go. However, depending on the type of mount that your microphone uses, you might not be able to position it exactly right. If you're using something like the Q9U or the SM7B, where you just hold the microphone in place and twist the mount to attach it, then you're going to be good to go. But if you're using another kind of microphone where you have to actually physically spin the microphone, it might not line up exactly where you need it to go. So to solve that problem, I have found that my Samson tabletop mic stands have these little locking nuts on them, and I stole or borrowed them to use on the wall mounts, and they fit perfectly. And then I can position the microphone exactly where I want it and use the locking nut to lock it in place, and then it's totally solid, stable. It's not going to fall off or wiggle or anything like that. And in this case, since I only really had silver screws, what I did just to make them a little less noticeable was to just cover the heads of the screws with a black paint marker. So for now, I've decided to put the 512 Audio Skylight on this mount because I think this is an awesome looking microphone. And yes, it kind of looks like an air filter, but that's because it delivers clean audio. Now the next step is to figure out where to put the other 4 mounts that I have. I just took a photo of my wall, and my original plan was to put more mics under these ones that are already there, but I did some very basic photoshopping of what that might kind of look like. And I feel like it's a little too cluttered because I really like this little setup right here. Like with this photo of the sound waves and then the microphones right there, it makes like a nice little cohesive unit. So I thought about putting a mic way over in that corner over there, which I think would look cool, but I wouldn't be able to actually reach it when I need it, and that means I probably wouldn't use it very much. Because one of the best parts about this way of mounting your microphones is that it's actually functional too. It also is a way of storing your microphones, so they don't just live in their one spot. They're constantly getting swapped out and moved and used. So now I'm kind of thinking of, in between these photos, maybe I could put a mic or 2 mics above each other. And then my other thought, since these foam pads don't really do a whole lot, they're mainly just for looks, is to get rid of those and put the 4 microphones vertically on this wall over here. Now I did make sure to mount these mics at the exact same height, even though when you actually attach microphones to these mounts, they're all slightly different because every mic has kind of a different base, and some microphones are in shock mounts and that positions them a little differently. So they're never going to be perfectly aligned because the mics are all different, but at least the point at which they mount is even. I used to be an English teacher, so I like to cite my sources and give credit where credit is due. Back months ago, I found a post on Twitter from Daniel Batal where he had mounted microphones in his studio and they looked amazing. And that's when I then went on Amazon and found these little onstage mounts. There are also these longer mounts here, which are kind of cool if you need the microphone to be like further out from the wall. But for me, it was a little too far, so that's why I went with the shorter mounts. but Finley likes them. Got some input from Heather, and her idea was, instead of mounting the mics up like this, to mount them horizontal, and then I could more evenly space them. As usual, Heather's idea seemed to be the best idea, so I took my panels off the wall along with the little sticky mounts that were under them, and then it was just a matter of doing a bit more measuring. I sort of eyeballed where the microphones needed to go and then marked out the center. I kind of just picked an arbitrary spot that looked good to start off with, and then from there I decided that a distance of about 8.5 inches in between each wall mount was going to give me enough space for basically any microphone I have to be mounted without bumping into another one. And while I was at it, I decided to use some of these little staple cable organizer things to get the power cord from my hair light that's mounted in the ceiling away from just hanging down the middle of the wall. And then I just repeated the process from earlier of marking the holes, installing the drywall anchors, and it didn't take long before I had all 4 mounts mostly in a decently straight line, and I could start installing the microphones, and then I had this awesome display that was ready to go. All in all, the total project probably took 40 minutes for all 5 of the mounts while I was also filming doing it. And I do like the mics that can be mounted horizontally, but I do also like the way that these condenser mics in their bigger shock mounts look as well. I think it's just a really cool thing, and I'm super happy with how this came out. It's way better than it was before. Here we go. We've got the Q9U, the MV7, the Warm Audio WA47 Junior, and the Rode NT1. Ooh, watch, I can add actually a pop of color instead of black. SM7B windscreen. Whoop, there we go. Now we got some color there. So this is a really fun and practical way to use some of your gear. I've gotten so much good feedback and so many compliments since I started mounting the microphones on the wall that I've had a ton of fun with it, and I love that it's constantly changing. You're not just stuck with your space looking the same. And I've noticed that I've been switching out microphones more often because of this, because they're just right there and they look fun and I want to use them because it's really fun. So speaking of things that are fun, thank you to everybody who helps support my channel through Patreon and channel memberships. I really, really appreciate that. And if you want to know more about this space that we've been working in all day, I do have a playlist of workspace related videos that include studio tours, lighting setup, desk tour, all that really fun stuff. So check those out and I'll see you over in one of those videos.